Well guys, we got Rance. But was it worth it?
Yes! Yes!
My man coming out swinging for his first English title and looking good doing it. So without further ado, let's zero in on Rance VI. Don't forget me. Oh god damn it! Starting with 5D, as you will be starting with this if you want to play the Rance games in canon order, actually not half bad. 5D is a contained story about how Rance met Rizna. Oh man, spoilers! Shut up, she's on the cover. Yeah, since the game is so small, I can't go over much. A lot of the game is just seeing what happens when you do X, and I don't want to spoil the one enjoyable part about this game. The story is Rance and Sil exploring a random cave number 6969 until they find themselves in Genbu's castle. Yeah, Long Face from Sengoku is just a tiny bit more important than the game actually lets on. Actually, 5D holds multiple connections to Sengoku, from the setting to the character designs, and even explaining how yokai are different from other types of creatures in the world, an explanation strangely lacking in Sengoku. I guess they assumed that you did play 5D before playing that one. It also is connected to Rance 6 because of haha, post-edit here from the future. I almost spoiled one of my favorite moments in Rance 6. Let me just say, if you play Rance 6, play it to completion. You'll meet a really good friend. Anyways, back to the past me talking about the games. And that's how Rance 5D cured cancer. The music in 5D was not really my taste. Only near the end did I enjoy anything aside from the legacy songs that carry from game to game. But still, props for including a music mode after beating the game. Anyway, from there we go to Rance 6, The Collapse of Zeeth, a far larger game with a story to match. This time, Rance and Sil are already in the middle of a guild mission, and they take full advantage of this by engaging the player in an 8 scene not 15 minutes into the game. Just dive straight into the—
Stop right there, criminal scum!
Upon completing this mission, Rance is separated from Sil, his personal maid slave, and thrown into a slave dungeon, ironic, for being a non-mage, introducing the main theme of this game, the oppressed rebelling against the oppressors. The Zeeth mages compose the wealthy and powerful, while non-mages are the poor and downtrodden, to the point of being called second-class citizens as their official designation. And with the Rance series' love of black comedy, you can expect them to take full advantage of this while still portraying it in a horrifically realistic way. Okay Johnny, your test scores say that you are 1 point away from being a mage. Sorry, but you're a second-class citizen now. I tried my best. I had to study without your expensive textbooks. You didn't buy the textbooks, that's what the loan machines are for. But I already took out a loan to feed my family and I can't pay the interest. Silly Johnny, of course you can. You use money to pay it back. God, you second-class citizens aren't too bright. From there, Rance is on an adventure of revenge that turns into so much more, joining the resistance group Ice Flame to fuck their leader, recruiting allies along the way such as Rocky,
Don't give up!
Maria,
I can't fight anymore.
and Albert,
You'll make a nice test subject.
fighting monsters, again some that you fuck, and once again accidentally saving the world from an evil with the power of the hyper weapon. And to finish this section off, let's talk about the music. A far more serious game than any of the other titles, the music matches this with epic compositions that go with the narrative perfectly. And once again, including a music mode allows the player to listen to their favorite tracks on repeat. Rance 5D's gameplay is a mix of timed point-and-click adventure, a roulette/dice-based RNG mechanics, all wrapped up in a visual novel covering. This combination is honestly irritating, with some of it coming from the timed nature of the game. Each of 5D's chapters starts with a timer that will be drained by an initial point-and-click section. After that section, the remaining time will be used in the adventure section, which then plays out like an RPG, a very, very random RPG. This section is where you can find items, grind for levels, and view scenes to advance the plot. Sadly, you have little control over this because of the dice roll mechanics that determine which action the player takes. Due to the fact that the player is still on a timer, the most effective method of playing the game is to spend time figuring out the point and click puzzles, then restart the point and click puzzle so you can complete it with minimal time loss so you have plenty of time to adventure. Simply playing the game without resetting can work, but the player runs into the risk of failing to match up against the bosses if you just happen to roll bad actions. The combat can be just as bad as this because the entire fight is auto-battled with dice rolls, and while you can alter the resulting actions of a roll by leveling up the player... Wait, why the fuck can Rance learn magic in this game? Whatever, nitpick, back to the game. Now, I'm not against hands-off gameplay. I think it's a cool idea that the player can play a game while playing another game that plays itself in the background, but that comes with the caveat that the player has to have a large amount of prep and strategy going on. And that's not even talking about the fact that enough bad rolls can net you a game over against enemies leagues below you. This all comes together to make the adventure section unexciting in a way that even the boss monsters can't overcome. To put simply, the point and click story portions are the best and everything else can be fast forward over. Okay, enough of that, now for the real treat. Rance 6 is far better from a gameplay standpoint, but it's not saying much. Your main hub is simply a collection of events that can be chosen and can vary from simple plot advancement, character power-ups, or even a new stage to explore. Some events do require an item called orbs to activate. These orbs can be found inside the dungeons, creating a good system of exploration, and while it's a grinding system meant to recycle existing maps, the amount of events you can get from them makes you forget how much you're actually grinding. But let's talk about the dungeons for a moment. These are stages you'll be traveling through in Rance 6, and wow. While many dungeon crawlers simply create a giant labyrinth for the player to roam around, this game takes the time to create stages that, while labyrinthian in design, still visibly resemble the areas they're meant to represent. Buildings have corridors and rooms, towns have multi-layered buildings, and you feel like you're actually walking around these locations. There's a limit to the exploration though in the form of your unit's SP gauge. At first I thought this was a standard mana bar to limit powerful abilities. Nope. This gauge instead represents how many fights a unit can participate in before withdrawing, and can range from Rance's 12 to a pitiful 3 or 4.
I can't fight anymore.
This makes management a key to long-lasting dungeons. The combat itself is 6v6 with 3 in the front and 3 in the back, with units having both normal attacks and attacks that need to be charged. Though there are no defined class types, each recruitable unit feels unique and have special abilities, both passive and active, that separate them from each other, except Bernard, but no one uses Bernard. Though that all flies out the window if you properly level up Maria, because someone at Alisoft thought it was a brilliant idea to give her a passive ability that adds a chance to attack after an ally's attack with 100% damage. This can outright double or triple your team's DPS, mowing down otherwise difficult enemies with ease. Aside from the aforementioned Maria, there is also one other balancing issue in the form of stuns. Stun locking is so powerful in this game that it may have urged the developers to give enemies enough damage to one-shot units if given the chance. This can turn boss fights into an RNG fest where the chain of stuns guarantees victory, while the opponent getting a single hit in can tank the whole battle. The only other flaw in this game is that when it comes to gameplay, there is a lack of clarity on the skills. I also said this in my Sengoku Rance review. The abilities only state a general bit of info on what they do, which can cause confusion when trying to get into the nitty-gritty of character building. This hurts mostly when it comes to upgrading skills, as in my playthrough I made several key mistakes leveling my units and only found out in the post-game, where I was willing to look at guides to ensure that I got all the content. To some this may be nitpicky, but not explaining basic concepts such as elemental weaknesses only functioning as critical hits is pretty important in my eyes. Obviously, in a Rance game, the core focus is the sexiness intertwined in the narrative of the game, and in Rance 5D it's eh. I love the emphasis on the gal monsters allowing you to capture them and have the sexy ladies fight for you like Pokemon, but as far as the CGs go, this game has both the lowest amount of CGs at 30 and the lowest resolution in a modern Rance game. The low CG count is partially because they do not include all the sexy imagery in the game, instead only counting full screen pictures. On a plus side though, for Mosaic haters, it is completely uncensored, and unlike the other games, each image in the gallery comes with a line from what I can assume is the lead artist talking about his opinion on the piece, a very nice touch. So it's not great, but again, the Rance series weaves this narrative into its 8 scenes, so even when it's lacking, it can still be held up by the story and characters. To contrast that, we have Rance VI. Rance VI is complete opposite of Rance 5D, providing a quality of content unseen by the currently available English Rance titles. 11 pages of CG, upscaled graphics, and completely uncensored. Throw in the fact that every female introduced gets her time in the limelight, unlike another game, and relatively straightforward CGs to obtain, unlike another game. This game is ready to provide many hours of both readable and fathomable content. And one extra in the game, much like Rance 5D, this game also has a very Pokemon style minigame objective, except this time you're sending Pokemon straight to the professor to be analyzed, cataloged, and gangbanged in scenes that are written in a distinctly un-Rance way to provide an alternate to the more comedical sex scenes in the game. Rance 5D is honestly a little disappointing. This game was functional and had a good story, but the raw gameplay was lacking and it failed to leave a long-lasting memory for me. It's not a bad game on its own, but falls short of expectations when surrounded by the rest of the modern Rance series. Dropping that and moving on to Rance VI.
Get back, Zelda!
Rance VI was amazing and made up for 5D's missteps several times over. While it doesn't have any of the new Game Plus features to bring the players back for more, it has a decent amount of post-game objectives. The time it took for us to get this title was well worth the wait. And with a price of $34.99 for 5D, but for 6, now that's a top dollar experience. And it just so happens that they come bundled together, so my final opinion of Rance 5D and Rance 6 The Collapse of Zeep is a buy plus. Not a steal because 2 reasons. 1, the failings of 5D can't be ignored because if you care about the complete story, you will have to slog through it. And 2, Rance 6 does not have much in the form of replayability. Neither of those make it a bad game, obviously, but if I'm going to put the steal rating on something, it has to change lives. Either way, it's an amazing game. Please let me know in the comment section your thoughts about both these titles, and I'll see you next time.